another great chapter from Black Clover. I think this chapter had a lot of character display from Asta, and I think a lot of it just really works fantastically into the story with stuff that I don't think a lot of people really considered going into this fight, because I think we were more thinking about the general scope of the arc itself and not like how Asta would really play into this whole like ritual of servitude, whatever the exact name of this thing was. It Ritual of Obedience or something like that? I'm just scrolling up and trying to remember exactly what it was called, but the devil binding ritual, whatever it could be. But the fight going the way that it was, I was thinking it more than I think a lot of people probably like kind of looked at it, like, oh, he's gonna destroy him because Asta doesn't have certain powers obviously that he usually has when he has the devil abilities of Libe. But it still made a lot of sense that the biggest advantage that Libe had was not effective against Asta because Asta doesn't have magic, and Libe didn't fight with technique. He fought like a wild animal, really, because when it comes to the way Asta uses the swords, he's a swordsman. He's not like a super trained swordsman. He's got training, but he doesn't fight with like a set style or anything. Asta's like, I've always considered Asta to be more of like a technique honed, but more of an improv swordsman kind of thing. But when it comes to Libe was just hovering the swords around and swinging them as hard as he could. And we saw Asta when he picked up, he's got Yami's old katana. He was being way more technique based, way smarter with it. And we know that he was holding back because he didn't actually want to kill Asta. It seems Libe only wants to kill devils. He doesn't want to kill humans. So Asta being able to get the hit in and then, pretty much end this fight. Again, to me, it made sense because the things that really push Libe to be in his position where he would be against a regular person, he doesn't have against Asta. So it just makes sense to me. But the bigger things that I really want to talk about is Asta after having defeated Libe, because I never really thought too much about like what is Asta's like reaction going to be when he's finished. I was still trying to figure out like how is it going to end, rather than like the aftermath and kind of like the fallout of what's going to happen when we actually get to it. And when we see Asta react to all this, like he's like, all right, yeah, cool, all you have to do is take control of him now and he becomes essentially your slave. And Asta's not going to want that, because what do we know about Asta? Asta, growing up a peasant, growing up with nothing and everything, he's always been very humble, but I think it made him into a more considerate person. And Asta, like, I've seen people like talk about Asta's like Asta's whole vision and outlook on things, and it's not that Asta is going for like, I've seen some people say like Asta's out to destroy racism, or Asta's out to destroy like separation of class. It's not that, because outside of like Black Clover racism is like not skin color based, it's like full species. But when it comes to how Asta sees it, it's not, oh, I want people not to to look at each other differently kind of thing based off of their background, or in like the idea of like, oh, we don't need any more like rich people or like noble stuff. It's not that. What Asta wants is to create a kingdom where just because you have a peasant and you have a noble, the noble doesn't look down on the peasant like, I'm better than you. It'd be like, I have my place and you have your place, but they still treat each other with equality and respect. That's more of what Asta's going for. So Asta, even in the pursuit of getting back Yami, getting stronger, doing all these things, him taking somebody as a pretty much a slave, as a servant, having somebody that's subservient to him, wouldn't make sense. And I think this made a lot of sense with Asta, and it really shows his conviction to wanting this level of equality and this level of just everybody treating each other right and being peaceful and getting along is very hard grained into Asta's mind. Again, that even in the idea of it's risky to try and oh well, I'm not going to make him like a servant. He's trying to make him equals. He wants to be friends with Libe, so it's not a master servant thing. They are on equal standing with each other. And Asta, again, it makes a lot of sense for who he is, and it makes a lot of sense for what we know about him, because his goal, Asta's goal of wanting to create like a better kingdom, has evolved since then, as we saw with like the elves. Even though he was pissed off at Patry, he knew that if he abandoned him, if he didn't try to help him, if he didn't do what he could for him, then he wouldn't be really fulfilling that idea of a kingdom of equality and peace if he just decided to throw somebody away, or based off of what reasons they had to be in a state of turmoil that the elves were. Asta kind of got that, but he knew that it wasn't entirely his fault, but he knew he had to help him. And I've always really liked that about Asta. I think that the way that he has this outlook on how people treat each other and how people should treat each other is really strong. And I think this chapter just displays it very, very heavily. Because Asta's not somebody who's like, we all have to be on the exact same equal standing ever. Like, you can't have people of a higher class, you can't have people lower class. Asta just wants people to treat each other well. And I like that about Asta. It's more about, hey, can you just not be like a smug, arrogant, like on a high horse, kind of like rich people, or some like greedy vile peasant who just wants to get ahead and do whatever they feel like. He looks at it from all perspectives, because he knows there are good nobles, there are good royals, like with Noel and stuff, and there are bad peasants. Where somebody's from, and obviously the elves, doesn't determine who they are, but he knows that there are good and bad people everywhere. But Asta's goal is to try and unite all of those people, to save everybody he can, and to get everybody on kind of like the same view level, so things can all like work in a much better direction. And I like that about Asta a lot. I really like that in this chapter. I thought that display for who he was fantastic. And then just lots of like other small stuff, like we had to see some moments with Nox's other devils. I like that about him. I don't know if I missed it, but I thought that his main one, I forgot his name, I think it was like Goldamito or something. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I thought he was gonna look different, and the other one's like the mask on, but he's the same style. I must have missed that when he first made them like solid. I thought he had 5. I thought it was his main one and then the 4 that have the masks. I must have missed that the first time he made them all manifest back with the captains. But Asta now like becoming friends and having a good equal standing with Libe. I like that. I like where this is gonna go. The thing that I've mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned in videos, but I mentioned it before, that one of the things I'm really looking forward to when it comes to the interactions between Asta and Libe is going to be Asta finding out about his mom, because this chapter does confirm that Asta is Libe's son, and I really want to see Asta react to just like stories of his mother he never got to meet, from somebody he made allies with, somebody he didn't give up on, and somebody he didn't decide to put in shackles and chains. But at the end of the chapter, we got to see Noct, and he's got like, he brings out his main devil, and it sinks down. Like as the tiny version comes up, it's like the big spooky masked version, and he ends up like getting its devil powers. And he's got this sick, as obviously I'm using the panel, he's got this sick Bloodborne style to it. I really like this. I think this looks badass, and I gotta give credit, because I think it was RTL Faith, if you checked out his channel before. He also does Black Clover stuff. He was wondering if each of Nox's devils is gonna have a different form, and I think that this panel, like when we see the one devil sink down and come back in its real state, and then him not get this form, I think that is a for sure now. I feel like that's very obvious. It'll either be he has this form, he has a form for each of them, or they're all this form but he has 4 pretty much power sources, which would still be really cool. I imagine if they're all different forms and they're all gonna have like a different way that he uses his shadows, like maybe this one, because he's got like a cloak, he'll be able to make those shadow hands come out of the cloak, and he's gonna kind of always have this high defensive, high attack kind of style to him. I don't know. It's obviously like it's obviously like a prediction of just like, guessing on what exactly his powers are when we have no real context at the moment. But I'm really hyped to see, you know, the rest of this fight, because I wasn't 100% sure on the full length of like how long the Asta versus Libe fight was going to go. Like I said in I did a predictions video, I was like, well, it's either going to end this next chapter and we're going to be moving forward and we're going to get more steps in training, or it'd be like 2 days later and that's when the fight finishes with Asta and Libe. And it was like just this massive endurance and massive effort in like fight that he's just going to get stronger through like 2 days of non-stop fighting. That's what I was kind of wondering. But it looks like, no, it's going to be, okay, he finished the first part, it wasn't that long, and now they have time for more steps. So Asta and Libe are going to fight Noct. The thing, obviously, with Noct is, like, Asta and Libe have, I'd say, the outright power advantage, obviously, of anti-magic against magic. But the thing that I think is really going to be harder for them isn't, like, oh, like trying to argue who's more powerful in general. Like if you looked at like each of them in a fight, I think that the big thing, oh, I bumped my mic. I think the big thing that when it comes to their fight with Noct is going to be is that Noct is way more experienced in using his devil abilities, way more experienced, because it's not just he's probably been in more fights than Asta by like a good margin. There's also, oh, he's used his devil powers way more, and I bet he knows. I bet, like, if you compared techniques and like tactics that Asta has in his devil form, like you said, Asta, what exactly can you do when you enter this form? He can name off a couple stuff. He's like his giant black divider, he's got his big black hurricane. He can just name off like certain moves and techniques that he has. I bet Noct has like 5 times more. And if he said, like, you're in this situation, what do you do? Asta could figure something out, but Noct would have, like, 10 things already figured out what to do. I bet that's going to be the big thing, is it's just going to be experience and how well Noct can, like, set all his moves up. And then, which I guess ties into experience and tactics. So this is going to be really cool. I like that. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. Because that's one of the things Asta really needs. Because with anti-magic, he always has, like, a really good power. But the good power is only as good as the user makes it out to be. So Asta has to get, you know, he has to develop more techniques. He has to be able to keep up with things moving at a higher speed. And he has to be able to react and just make faster decisions when it comes to some of these bigger opponents. That's obviously the thing that, you know, is going to be his big step forward in fights to come. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button to check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.